Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe to say we're sitting here with the man behind the royal arse. Nobody other than the great Ricky Tomlinson. Ricky, thank you very much for
My
taking
pleasure,
the time
lad.
here.
Thanks, Ricky.
My pleasure, son.
So, Ricky, we came to see you last night. You're on a wee tour just now.
Yeah.
Is that right? So you're doing the local clubs in the UK. Tell us a wee bit why you do the local clubs rather than the big arenas.
Well, I think it's more intimate. You know, if you go to the bigger venues, you lose some of the atmosphere. And when we do the second part, which is they ask the questions, it's all a bit messy. So I like it nice and small. You know, it's intimate. You can do a little bit of banter as well, which you can't in a theatre. And you know, if it's not broke, why try and fix it? You know what I mean? So
Try and fix it. You're absolutely right. So I mentioned there a moment ago, you're the man behind the arse. So one of the most famous catchphrases in British TV history. 2 words.
my art.
My arse. So I had a wee quick look through them all today, and I was wanting to know what was your favourite my arse?
They're all my favourites. It's funny, but sometimes when I'm out and you get in conversation and people, when you least expect it, when they say it to me, that to me is far funnier than when I say it to them. You know, especially pensioners. Sometimes when you help them on the bus or something, and they say, "Is everything all right?" They go, "Oh, my ass." That means mind your own bloody business. Of course, I'm all right getting on the bus.
That was it. But I took down a couple just to go through them. So the very first one you ever done was "It's Good to Talk My Arse,"
Yeah.
which was a BT advert. So obviously that was a rip-off of that because Jim was always watching TV. So, but this one of the ones that made me laugh the most was actually delivered by Sue, and it was "Beast My Arse." And you can actually tell Caroline turns round and it's a genuine laugh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there was some crackers
Well,
here.
there was loads of that on the set. There was loads of impromptu laughing, and in fact, you know, now, in fact, Craig, who played Dave, like he used to corpse all the time, and we'd have to stop the shoot,
Oh man.
and he'd get sent off the set. You know,
That's the best part though. He wrote it, so he's laughing at his own jokes.
Yeah, but it's laughing. It's just the atmosphere, the way it builds up, and then, but also me and Lakey, we used to wind him up. You know, we used to get him into trouble deliberately, and he'd been, although he was like part of the show with Caroline, part of one of the writers. Many a time he was sent off the set because he couldn't control himself.
I watched a documentary about the writing about it after Caroline passed away.
Aye.
It was a great documentary, but you could tell that the camaraderie that everybody had was just
It was
unbelievable.
wonderful, lad. She was so generous, honestly. I mean, everyone, you know, the kids on the set who, like maybe on a release thing and learning the business and stuff like that, she treated them exactly the same as she treated us. And I know we used to have a little, like every Friday night, we'd have a drink. I used to drink in them days, so she'd have a few bottles of mild beer for me and a bottle of wine or a bottle of champagne for her and Sue Johnson and stuff like that, you know. But everyone, whether it was the cleaner, the woman who done the washing, because there was always a thing when someone with the shirt, I didn't like it getting washed,
Right.
so I used to hide it, and they would find it and wash it. And I've put it down the back of radiators, and he found it. Honest to God, and I got that. I said, I don't want it washing.
Was that like a method thing because obviously Jim was a dirty clack?
Yeah,
and
I didn't want to go in, and this was brand new every morning, and it became a thing. But honestly, some of the places I've visited on the bloody wardrobe, honest to God, down the back of radiator, and they always found it, and they always bloody washed it. You know? But as I say, everyone who on the set of a Friday night, we'd have a little drink. I'd have a bottle of mild beer and to be a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine for Sue and that, and lager for the lads. And the kids who just come on the job, like maybe a bit of work experience, everyone got a lottery ticket. You bought everybody every week a lottery ticket every Friday.
I know, it could make somebody a millionaire.
Aye.
That's great.
Love that.
So, like I said, it's a fantastic catchphrase, right? There's been belters, stencil my arse,
Yeah.
finger my arse,
Yeah, Roger my arse.
Roger my arse, that's there. Laminate my arse was a good one as well. But you actually brought out a few songs, didn't you? So you've got Christmas my arse.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You've got Valentine's Day my arse. You've got Yellow Card my arse, and you've got Jeff Hurst my arse. So the last two there are obviously involving football.
Right.
He's a massive Mike Bassett fan, so he's got a couple of questions.
Oh, you can fire away, lads, yeah.
I love the film. Me and my pal Pud, we quote it all the time. Just if you get any good stories, it must have been a lot of fun making that film.
It was amazing. It was absolutely. We had the time of our life. And when we went to over to Brazil, was it to do this thing? And I met Pelly. He was fabulous. He was absolutely fabulous. The director was a fella called Steve Barron,
Right.
who sort of specialised in doing music videos. That was his forte.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's where he made the money to make Mike Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one scene in it where I had to recite "If."
That's right.
It's 22 lines long.
Right.
And Phil Jupiter's and a gang of lads, 4 or 5 lads, I think they were with the Royal Shakespeare Company. They'd been flown out to play the part of newspaper reporters. So they're sitting in the audience, and I've got to recite this "If." And I was up till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were trying to just. I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't, you start again. But I thought, no, you've got to do it right. Anyway, these lads are there, and I knew like they were from the Royal Shakespeare Company, and that. Anyway, I cracked it. I'd done it right through the lot, 20 odd lines to 20 odd lines. And to be fair to them, they stood up and clapped,
Really?
And I thought that was great.
It's a great bit of the film as well. That's when he starts to turn it around in the film.
Yeah.
That bit.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It must have been amazing. Obviously, you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
But I would assume, by default, being an English guy, you're an England fan as well.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
it must have been what a buzz it must have been to play the England manager. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was absolutely. It was great. But you know, Pelly came to Liverpool a few seasons ago, and when I go to the match, I stopped going to the match to Liverpool for a few years because I used to get I was too like wrapped up in them, and if they lost, I'd have a cob on, ridiculous like. And so I stopped going, and then I started doing working with Colin McEwen, who's got LA Productions. He owns LA Productions, and I first met him because he'd done all the technical stuff at Brookside. And on our table is Sammy Lee, who played for Liverpool, and Jimmy McGovern, who wrote Hillsborough, Peter McIntosh, who's a football agent and stuff like that. And I've started going match. I go to every home game now, but I can feel it, the nerves again, it's weird.
Absolutely.
I get carried away. My wife says to me, "You're bloody ridiculous."
Listen, you're looking at a Celtic fan and a Rangers fan here,
yeah.
And we've got a big game tomorrow. It's
have you?
the Old Firm game tomorrow, so
I wish you were in character as Mike Bassett to manage Rangers tomorrow. Give them the Mexican speech at half time.
Listen, I know how good Mike Bassett was, but I don't think he could even save Rangers just now.
But it's funny, because when we were doing that scene where I'm screaming and we were over in, as I say, Brazil, and the people there obviously they speak Portuguese, and I'm effing them, blinding them, calling them, and I'm kicking the thing, and they didn't know. They thought it was real. And when I stopped bollocking them, they all started clapping.
I've got a quick question about one of your older ones, one of your older movies, right? Yeah. This is from a guy called Davey Elder who I work with, right? He says, Ricky's a brilliant actor, I love him. He says, ask if he enjoyed working with Bruce Jones, aka Les Battersby, in the great 1993 film Raining Stones.
We had a wonderful time. It was a Jim Allen movie. Jim Allen was an ordinary guy from Manchester. He'd worked on the tugs, he'd been a hod carrier on the building sites and everything. But he wrote that Raining Stones, but he wrote loads of really, really, really good stuff, And he was the type of fellow we actually went to, I think it was the Cannes Film Festival. I can't think what the movie was. It must have been one of Jim's, because Ken Loach was there, I was there, and Jim was there. And he sort of didn't, he was nothing showbiz about him, So we had this big night where I think it might have been Sweet 16, the movie Sweet 16, which is about a Scottish football team.
Yeah.
And Jim had no gear with him. So I had to lend him a pair of shoes, and I think I had a coat that fit.
So he's walking down the red carpet in your gear.
in can.
And it's amazing. But he's sitting round, and it was, what did he call it? Nouvelle cuisine, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
The guy come round and the waitress and served and put the stuff down. And he's waiting for it, he's waiting. And the fella come back about 5 minutes later and said, anything wrong? And he said, yeah, well, where's the rest of
That's the rest of the dinner. Nouveau cuisine.
He didn't know that was fucking me.
I've been in a few restaurants like that in my time, I can tell you. Also, I've got a question from he's a Scottish actor. His name is Lee Gregg. He's in a Scottish sitcom called The Scots, and he wants to know, how did you manage to make your laugh be so convincing every time, even after multiple takes? Or was it a natural laugh, or are you just that good?
Because we had a great understanding. We used to take the piss out of each other,
Mm.
and as I say, poor Craig, and although we wrote it with Caroline, like 14 takes to say one word. It's ridiculous. It's impossible. But we used to deliberately, behind Caroline's back, he'd be having to say his one word, and we'd make him laugh, and he'd fall. And in the end, she sent him off the set, and then she had a little cellmate. The chippies on them lads will knock you. They'll do anything in 10 minutes. They made like a single cell, and he used to have to sit in, and we used to lock him in, and he'd be going like that.
Oh man,
but the atmosphere on the set was fabulous, honestly. Yeah.
So was Rain and Stones was a Ken Loach film, is that right?
It was indeed. Yeah. That was Bruce Jones. Yeah.
He's a fantastic director, Ken Loach.
I love him. I'm very lucky. I've done 2 movies with Ken Loach, which is very, very unusual. I've done Rain and Stones, and I can't think what the other one was. But yeah, I've done. I love Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me once, he loves football, and he supports Bath. He was living in Bath, and he said to me, would you come and do a little bit of a spot? He said, here's a few quid for Bath football. I said, yeah, okay. So I drove from Liverpool and got there. I had to be there for 8 o'clock or something, and I got there about 8:05, and they're waiting at the door. I went to the door. I was calling. Anyway, I said, okay. He said, can you go right in and start? I said, yeah, okay. So I went, and as I was walking past him towards the stage, I said, how long do you want me to do? He went, there's only you on me. I said, what? He said, there's only you.
An hour and a half.
But it was easy because he was showing old clips of his movies, right, and I was talking about them, and like taking the mickey. And I said to the crowd, listen, I said, this is not my normal gig. I said, I normally have a variety show. Mm-hmm. I said, I bring a comic and a singer and, a special act and all like that. And as I'm talking, half of them are getting up and walking out, and I thought, maybe they can't understand the Scouse accent. Mm-hmm. And what it was, they were going to the thing to say, ordering tickets for when we're going to do the next show.
There you go. Well, I was going to touch on it. I don't want to get too much into the political side of things. Obviously, you touched on your time in prison due to the union thing and everything. And what I wanted to ask you is, do you think if that hadn't have happened, do you think you would have went on to have the career that you went on to have?
No, but it was probably all because of that. Because when I come out, obviously, like I was only living in a little tiny cottage then in a Welsh village called Coed Powys, and it was like it wanted a lot of work doing on it. I had no money and everything, but I was going around the pubs and the clubs like with the banjo and just doing it. But I seen the adverts in the paper for actors, anyone with trade union experience and an equity card, which I had both. And I wrote away, and I got an audition, which I had to go all the way down to London. So I had a little post office van at the time, and as I say, I'm living in Coed Powys, and I had a mate of mine who was a brickie. He lived in Bersham, which was a little mining village. And he said, you going to London, Rick? I said, yeah. He said, can you give us a lift? I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to go and try and get a job on the Barbican as a brickie. I said, okay. Anyway, honestly, it took us forever. If you went more than 30 miles an hour in this old post office, then you got a nosebleed, Anyway, we got there, and I just parked. It was honest to God, the days out afterwards, there's a great big sign on the side of the road, London, and I pulled in behind it and said, we're here. And I said to him, look, I've got to go to LWT, and I said, you go to the Barbican. whoever finishes first, wait in in LWT, sits in the foyer, wait if you're finished before me. Anyway, I gets out the van and I'm walking. I said to this fella, I said, excuse me, I said, how do I get to London Weekend Television? He went, oh, go through there, he said. And he said, you'll get a tube to so-and-so, and then you get off and get, and I went, no, I said, I've got no, I didn't have money. He said, well, I said, I've got no money. He said, miles away. I said, well, he said, just keep walking. And he said, just keep walking in that direction. So I walked, and I literally walked. So I had holes in one of my shoes, like, and fucking hell. So I eventually got there. Went into the foyer. Well, I hadn't used my own name because it was still in the papers, you see, about the coming out of jail, Ricky Tomlinson.
Right.
And when I wrote away for the audition, I put a phony name in, you know.
Right.
So I went up to the receptionist and I said, I've come for an audition. What name was it? I said, Billy Blount, whatever it was. And she went, yeah, no, she said, just go up the stairs, and that the door at the top of the stairs, knock, and that's it. And I went up the stairs, knocked on the door, and a fella shouted, someone said, come in. And I went in, and I'll never, it's first impressions. There's a fella, and he's sitting on an ordinary chair, but a lovely polished wooden chair, and he's sitting on the back with his feet on the seat of this polished wooden chair.
My mother would have had the skin off my arse.
That's what I said. I said, this is what I said. I said, if my mother was behind you, she'd have given you that. No, they would, wouldn't they?
Aye, totally.
Anyway, he's sitting there, and I can still, he had Chelsea boots on, blue corduroy trousers, and a bomber jacket, you know. And he said, "How are you? You're so and so and so." And he got talking to me, and he said, "You know, we live in a great country." He said, "No one's skint like hardly everyone." I said, "What are you talking about?" I'd lost my temper. I said, "What are you talking about? No one's skint." I said, he said, "Everyone's got plenty of money." So I put my finger in the hole in my shoe, because my feet were bleeding, and I'd come out and got blood on it. I said, "Do you think that's nail varnish?" I said, "You stick your film up your ass." And I walked out. I fucking walked out, slammed the door, and I'm going down in the lift. And he shouted down, "I know who you are. You're Ricky Tomlinson." I said, "Well, you go fuck off." I know who you. He knew who it was.
He was trying to get that out of you, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I think he was trying to
I
get
don't
that
know
out
what
of
he. I don't know. You knew who it was because I hadn't put anything like that on the application form.
He probably knew who you were from when you walked in. I mean, you were all over the newspapers.
Probably,
at the time,
probably.
you know?
Anyway,
Aye.
I actually when I got my mates already there from the Barbican, and I said, "Are you ready?" He went, "Yeah." He said, "Did you get the expenses?" I went, "Fucking hell, no." Back in the lift, up, knock on the door, went in. He said, "What is it now?" I said, "What is it now?" I said, "What about these expenses?" So he said to the girl, he said, first of all, he said, "How much is the train fare?" I can't remember, but in them days, it'd be about 17 quid one way from Liverpool to London, you know. I said, "It's about 17 quid," and he said to the girl, he said, "Give me £20. Anyway, she gave me £20. I said, "Thanks." And that was it. And then, you know, as I say, the next day, I went back to my little cottage, still loads to do on it, you know. And the Cilla Black Bakelite phone, and it went, and I said, "Hello?" She said, "Is that?" And do we use my name? How can they knew my name? I said, "Yeah." She said, she said, Roland Joffrey, the fellow's name, the director was. He wants to know, can you do a workshop for him? And I went, "Yeah." I said, "Where is it?" And she gave me the address and went. I said, "Okay." So I phoned my mate up, who was an ex-seaman. Later on, he ended up playing the part of Matty in Brookside. He was only, like myself, he was a chancer, he wasn't an actor. So I phoned him up and said, "Hey, so have you still got the wagon?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "Have you got any gear?" He said, "What do you mean, sand, cement, scaffold?" He said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, fill the van." I said, "The fella wants me to build up a workshop." So I think it was in Bury, so we drove all the way to Bury. We pulled up at the address. There was a block of flats. And I said, "Scott Coach, I know he must want an extension doing it." Anyway, I'm looking through the window and I can see Frankie Clark, Chris Bernard, Marky Clark, Alexander Pegg, all people from Liverpool who were in the acting game. And I went in and I said, "What are you all doing here?" And they said, "We're here for the workshop." So I went, "Yeah, that's what I'm here."
So your mate as well, he went to the workshop, I assume, yeah?
There was about 50 there.
Oh,
About 50 for this
Jeez,
audition.
oh.
And then Roland Joffrey come out, and as I say, he had the Guardian newspaper, and he took a page out and he printed, but say 40, 50 copies of it. And he handed them out and he just said, listen, you all live in a block of flats, he said, and they're going to put the rent up £50 a month or £50 a week, whatever it was, he said. Have a read of the article and then see what you're going to do about it. So I didn't have a clue. So what I'm reading this article, and by the time I'd finished reading the article, I would fucking boil it. So I just jumped up and I said, they're putting the rent up. I said, we're living here. I said, it's a shithole. I said, the kids can't play outside because there's bottles, there's glass in the grass. I said, look, every window said there's not a window here that's not broken or cracked. It's that the place, and I fucking kicked off. I forgot where it was. the next thing, Scott goes with me, like he fucking jumped up and said, no, I'm not paying it either. Then someone else jumped up. After 5 minutes, we were going to march on fucking Poland. We were fucking... We were all screaming and he just walked. I don't know where he used to sort of disappear, Roland. And the next thing is he just appeared and said, thank you everybody, thank you. And he just put his hand on my shoulder as I'm walking and he went, he said, if I give you a little part in this movie, you won't let me down, will you? I said, oh no. He said, okay. That was it. So just gets old. Back to the cottage, back to the fucking plastering, putting ceilings there, fixing the staircase. And the old black Bakelite phone goes and it said, is that Ricky? He said, yeah. She said, I've got a message off Roland. I said, oh yeah. She said, he'd like you to be in this movie. I said, oh, that's nice. She said, he'll give you £1,700 for it. I went, could you say that again, kid? She said, yeah, he'll offer you £1,700 for your part in the movie. And honestly, I said to her, I said, am I going to kill somebody for this?
So good.
Right.
So,
Come in.
So what said yeah?
All
yes,
done.
Good.
So, and he said, and your mate, Mr. Scoggins, 1,400 quid. I said, lovely. Phone Scoggo. I said, we've cracked you, we've both got a job on that movie. I said, I'm getting 1,700 quid, you're getting 1,400 quid. Oh, he said, happy days. Happy days. Put the phone down and it rang as I put it down. And I picked it up and it was his office again. Said, Waffle Sally, the movie's been cancelled. But your checks are in the post.
Ah, nice one.
Yeah,
That's it.
beauty.
What had happened is, London Weekend were going to do it.
Mhm.
And when they read the Jim Allen script and they realised it was full of politics, they said, bollocks to that, we're not doing that, you know. But what happened is, the BBC took it on.
Right.
So we got the same thing. We got. Oh,
This
we
is
got
United Kingdom you're talking about?
yeah.
Mm.
But although they cancelled it, we got paid for it because he said I've made verbal contracts, which he had. So we got paid for it, and then the next thing is.
He didn't really need to do that either, didn't he? You know?
Anyway, it eventually got made, and I didn't know I was the fucking lead in it. I was the lead in it. I got rave reviews. But the good part about it is, while that was getting shown on the Saturday, it was on for about 3 hours, you know. And they've never ever shown it again, you know.
Never shown
And
it.
Roland Joffrey has tried to buy it, that they won't sell it to him.
No.
But they've told him they're never going to show it again.
Well,
It
you
was
know why.
it was really, but you know, there's a scene in it where we're all fighting, but they send the police in to get us out the block of flats, and as the fight kicks off, well, me and Scoggo could have a go. You know, we were only young men. I'm fucking butting them and kicking them, and they're knocking shite out of me. And so after about half an hour, these fellas, the one lad, there was a black lad. Can't think of it. You know, his first name was Si, a black actor, and he got carted off with a punctured lung.
Really?
Oh, they weren't half going in, these fucking fellas, says the policeman there. I thought they were extras, you see. So when we stopped for a cup of tea, I said to them, a couple of them were sitting there, and I said, fucking hell. I said, I've worked with some extras. I said, you fellas not that fit. And he went, extras? We're not extras. I said, what? He said, we're territorial army.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
No wonder they were knocking fuck
I
out of
know.
them.
Jane, quickly before we go, I want
Yeah.
to just touch on, you mentioned there when you went into the workshop, Maggie Clark, and there was loads of Scouse actors there. My personal favourite actor is Stephen Graham. I think he's a fantastic actor, and obviously he's a Scouser as well.
Yeah.
Who is your own favourite actor of all time?
I don't really have. I love Stephen and I know him well, but I want him to do something different now. See, I want him to do something different.
I know what you mean.
The part I like him doing is he plays a drunk who goes back to Ireland.
That was the not the rituals.
I don't know what, I can't remember what it was called, but that's amazing when he's really acting.
He goes
really
back and he meets his sister. And,
That's it.
And he was in the kids' home, and it's all about the abuse.
That's right. I phoned him up and said, this is far better than that other stuff you're doing. It's all the fucking same. You know, once a heavy, always you can't do that. You've got to diversify, haven't you? You know, it's no, I've been looking at, as I say, my famous faux part is when Roland Joffrey was going to America, and because he kept in touch with me for years. I loved him, he was great. And he's going to America, and he said, I'm off to America. He said, but we're having a farewell party in the Groucho Club.
Right.
He said, if you want to come down and have a little drink. So I went down with Val McLean, who is Jimmy Nail's sister.
Right.
But she's the girl who played me wife in United Kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
And she was the girl who had to give the okay whether it was going to be all right. So I didn't know I was actually doing an audition with her.
When you met her, you didn't know you were auditioning for the part.
And I didn't know, but Joffrey had thought it was all behind the scenes. I didn't know what was going on. And he said to her after being here had done the scene, what do you think? She went, you'll be perfect. So that was she gave me the nod. But I loved doing it. And when I realised, like, there was people in it like Anthony Benson, fucking Bill Patterson, Rosemary Martin, Peter Kerrigan, and here's me, I'd never fucking done anything ever, and I'm the fucking lead in it. The beauty is though, I didn't know I was the lead.
Oh, well.
That was the beauty. I'd just get up in the morning and didn't have to learn lines. He'd say to me, this is going to happen and that's happening, and just do your reaction. So
was that kind of like improv?
Yeah.
Everything I've done really has been improv.
Yeah.
So I kind of, if somebody handed me a script just now, I'd shit myself, having to try and learn all the lines.
Yeah, I struggle a bit with lines now, but before I got a bit lucky, I used to compare it to a British Legion club, you know, and it just sounds awful funny and it sounds big-headed. A couple of the committee lads were there said to me, this fella, his name was Nella Morgan. What a name for a man, Nella. I don't know whether it's short for Nelson or what. He's Nella Morgan. He said, Rick, we're going to have to let you go. I said, let me go? I said, it's fucking full Friday, Saturday, Sunday after. He said, I know, but honestly, he said, you're wasting your time here. And I thought, must be a reason for it. But my brother was on the committee. I went, Rick, no, he said, he's there. He think you're too good. I went, fair enough. But when I'm doing United Kingdom, there's a scene in it. I'm supposed to be walking around with the baby in a pram. And he said, I want you to go into this. He said, just wheel the pram into this garage and ask, have you seen so? He said, just make a name up. So the fella who told me he was too fucking good to be in the club, his name was Nella Morgan. I go into the garage and I say, anybody seen Nella Morgan? And he went, what? I said, anyone seen Nella Morgan? He said, no lad, he's not here. I said, no, okay. Well, he was a fucking star overnight, Nella.
That's it.
Everyone in the club, it was a big club, it was a British Legion club, held about 400, and they must have all obviously watched the play, and he went, thanks for that, Rick.
Right, one more quick question before we go. What's your favourite movie?
I don't think I've got a favourite movie. I just love what I get absorbed in them. You know, because like some people like gangster movies, some people like love stories. I really haven't got a favourite.
My dad wanted me to ask you, what's your opinion of the Shawshank Redemption? Because that's his favourite film.
Oh, is it?
You like
Do you
that
know
one?
I haven't seen it. I've never seen it. I've seen it advertised and Morgan Freeman is.
Aye.
I know all about it. I've never had a chance to see it. Isn't it weird?
You know what? That's your homework. You watch the Shawshank
I will.
Redemption.
It's about prisoners. They're in prison.
Aye.
Yeah.
And before we go as well, you've got a kids book that's been released.
Yeah.
The Rusty Key, is that right?
That's right.
The Rusty Key.
It's
So
it's after me, two of my grandkids called Maggie and Jack, and they stay with us, I say, every third weekend, and they stay over. And I just love writing because my autobiography, I didn't want to do my autobiography because I knew it was going to be warts and all, but they were doing an unofficial one. So I said to me missus, I said, listen, I said, I said, I'm going to have to do it. She said, well, if you're going to do it, she said, it'll have to be the truth.
Mhm.
I went, fucking hell, you know, I've had a bit of a life, like. So anyway, we done the book, and it was, it went to number 1, fucking outsold everybody's. Went to number 1 and got nominated for Book of the Year.
Mhm.
So Time Warner with the publishers, and they were made up. He said, he said, it's a black tie job, come down to London. They put us up in the big hotel, me and Rita, and Esme with a fucking ticky ball. Rita with the long frock and all that. Anyway, it was up again. There's only 2 was up for it. It was Ricky and a thing called The Mystery of the Dog That Went Out in the Night,
Right.
which is a play apparently, I don't know. And that won it. And you could feel the atmosphere. It was like people. That's all that was missing. It just went fucking dead quiet.
They were wanting a Ricky Tomlinson acceptance speech, that's why.
Yeah. But anyway, on the way out, one of the judges, it must have been playing on his fucking mind.
Right.
And he pulled me to one side. He said, listen, I am so sorry. He said, do you know why yours never won it? And I said, no. He said, the politics.
Well, you've been a
And
victim.
I've never heard of the other fucking one of you, the Mystery of the Dog that went. It's a play apparently.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You've been a victim of politics your entire life.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
you know something, you're an absolute gentleman. Thank you so much.
No,
for
it's
doing this,
nice.
Ricky.
Aye.
It's
I really
any time
appreciate
at
it.
all, lads. Any time at all.
And sorry, can I ask you, do you remember the England World Cup song by Mike Bassett?
I don't
No,
remember.
it's on the head, son.
Oh, that.
Not off the head, son.
Who were the 2 lads that done it? Who were the 2 lads that used to do David Baddiel and
Oh, but Skin and Baddiel.
Aye.
Skin and Baddiel. Aye.
But in
I
the
went
film, it
to
was
see a
Atomic
play of
Kitten.
David Baddiel a couple of weeks ago in Chester. It's fucking phenomenal.
Aye, really.
It's about 2 kids, and you know he's the dad and the mum, and they say he won't let them do something. I had stay up late, so and they sort of wish they had a different parents,
Right.
and that's the play. It's honestly can't.
Class.
Okay.
But you know the special effects, fucking hell.
I know. Well, he went to see Back to the Future on the stage, the stage show.
Go
And
away.
the fucking the car appears out and and flies over your head. And
Well,
everything.
when I was there, it was Lakey. I met Lakey. It was on in Chester, and someone said, "Haven't you just written that book, Rick, the Rusty Case?" I said, "Yeah." He went, "We're going to make that into a stage play." I said, "How?" He said, "Just leave it with us." But you should have seen the effects in that David Baddiel. It was
Right.
Brilliant, man.
mind blowing.
I grew up with Skinner and Baddiel and the
Oh,
fantasy
aye.
football league and all that, and obviously, you know, like I said, they're class, but you're an absolute national treasure. And
I'm amazed. I've had a nice little break, and then and I like to try and pass a little bit on, you know, and like give loads of advice, and I go out and do loads for the little local charities, and in fact I spend a lot of time doing. But I've always been against some working class, like 3 lads and my mum and dad in a little 2 up 2 down, cold water tap. But we were lucky because in the street there was only about 4 houses with electricity, and we were one of them. But my dad worked all his life. He was a baker, and my mum had 3 jobs. She worked in the laundry, she worked in the British American Tobacco Company, and she cleaned posh people's houses, you know.
Right, yeah.
And I fucking idolised her. I idolised both my parents.
Aye.
In fact, when I say that, they say, "How did you get on with your alpha?" Because I fucking adored them. They say, "Oh, did you?" Because like it wasn't uncommon where I lived.
Kids
Like,
were dragged up back in the day, slapped about, beat up and everything. I mean,
Well, there's
it's-
a lot of but where I lived, but in Liverpool, was not far from the docks. And a lot of them worked on the docks, and they'd come home half pissed. And if the kids seen the dad coming up the street and they knew he'd been drinking, they'd fucking go and hide.
aye.
I've never had that. I've never had that in me. Like,
No, same with me.
I used
same
to-
with me.
but as I say, because we lived in a 2 up 2 down, there'd be 3 of us, 3 lads in the back bedroom. That was before our Ronnie was born. It was me, Albert, and David. So we're in a big double bed. My mum and dad are in the front room, and I'd be frightened. We'd be frightened at David, who was younger than us, and he'd be shouting, "Mum, Mum, they're frightened me." And she'd be downstairs with me dad. My dad's name was Albert, and if she called him Albert, we knew we were in fucking trouble. So we'd say, Albert, get up there and sort them lads out. So we'd say, right. So we'd come out and he'd take the stair rod off with them little wooden stair rods. So we'd come up the stairs and he'd go, and I'd go, "Ah, no!" Then Albert would scream, and then I'd scream again and again and again, and then he'd say, right, and he'd go downstairs, and we'd hear my mum saying, "Served them bloody right. It's about time you took him." And then I'd say to Albert, he missed me. Albert said he missed me. Never fucking one sitters. He used to whack the fucking pillar. And we'd scream. He was great. And with him being a baker, he was at home all day. You know, he'd work all night like.
My dad was a baker as well.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
And because he was home of the daytime, he used to pick the school football team because the school teacher didn't have a fucking clue. So my dad used to pick the team. And with him being a baker, he'd take him. We used to call them barm cakes in them days. Yeah. They're called baps now, aren't they? They call them bap. He'd take barm cakes for everybody, you know. He was, and you know, we lived in just an ordinary terrace street, and he wasn't a very, very good handyman, but if anyone had a window broken or a door wanted doing, he'd take his full toolkit, which was a screwdriver and a fucking lump.
That sounds like my toolkit, actually.
And that was his toolkit, but he'd do anything for anyone. He was, I fucking adored him. And fellas said, you loved your Alfred Dillard, I'd have fucking idolised him, lad.
Do you know, I absolutely adored my mum and dad as well, and you know, the both of them loved you and the Royle Family.
That's good.
My mum was a massive Brookside fan, fan, and then
He's coming back out, isn't he?
Cracker as well, aye. You were in Cracker as well.
Yeah, I was with Coltrane.
And she loved that, and then obviously the Royle Family. So like, basically all the things that you were in, my mum was a massive fan of. But my dad.
But you know, Coltrane was funny, you know.
Brilliant.
He used to come on the set. And the girl who was in it, Geraldine, she was Biffo, and I was someone else. And he'd come on the set as though he was a wing commander in the Air Force, say, "Morning, Biffo, morning, Tomo," and he'd take over, and he'd fucking do half an hour before we got down to work, you know. But he was so funny. Sure. But we were working somewhere. I think it was in the Middle East. Might have been Singapore. Anyway. Me and him, we both got shorts on and a vest on because it's fucking red hot over there. And we're just walking along, having a look in shop windows now. And we looked in this shop window and there's 4 fellas, Chinese like, or Singaporeans, whatever you call them. And they're going like that. They've got hammers and chisel, wood mallets and chisels. And we didn't know, they were making coffins, you know?
Really?
And they turned round and looked at us through the fucking sides. Fuck off. You could tell it was like,
So this is it, we need to tie it up because you're going out for dinner. You're going out for dinner.
But you know one more thing about Coltrane, he doesn't miss a trick. I love dogs. I love dogs. My granddad used to breed them, you know. And he lived in a very, very working class area of Liverpool. And the only time the neighbours or any of them ever saw say a Jaguar or a Rolls Royce was when someone would be going to my granddad's to buy a puppy,
right?
Because he used to because he was a carter by trade, you know, horses, fucking brasses all over the house, you know, and he won the thing every year for his horses, and people used to wonder how he kept the horses, you know, the fetlocks and all that so clean. He used to go into Bibby's yard. He used to take the team into Bibby's yard. Right. They had hot and cold water there, like, and he fucking watered it down during the day, so his horses were always spotless, so he won all these prizes.
He's using somebody else's hot water.
Everyone fucking hated him for it. But no, so he had this love of dogs, and I've inherited it. And
I'm the same.
So, as I say, we're in Hong Kong or somewhere, and Coltrane come in, and he went, "Hey, Tomo," and he's got me the world's encyclopedia of dogs. It's fucking amazing. I've got all the Kennel Club ones, breed standards and all that. You know, I've got that because I want to do a book about dogs, but not an ordinary one.
Well, you know what's missing since what was your man that done Lily Savage again?
Oh, aye.
Who?
It was Lily Savage. Remember what was his name?
Lily Savage.
Paul O'Grady.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big space in the market for somebody to look after dogs and bring it into the public eye since he's went. That was his thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was all right, Paul. You know.
He was a good guy.
He was okay, but me and him had like Cilla Black. I don't get on with Cilla Black, you know.
No.
And he was a good friend of Cilla Black's.
That's right.
And he went. He said, "Rick," he said, "I know you don't get on with Cilla." He said, "But he said I didn't get on with her when I first knew her." He said, "But when I got to know her, she was all right." I said she wasn't my cup of tea.
No.
And
well, you know what? That tells me all I need to know about Cilla Black.
When I was fucking skint, and I mean, because I've grafted all my life. When I was skint, I had a little van, I used to borrow 50 quid on a Friday night, drive to Stoke, go into the potteries, buy 50 quid's worth of cups, saucers, plates, basins and all that, put them in my van and drive from Stoke to Great Ormond Street, and it didn't go on to Great Ormond Street in Liverpool. It was an open air market. Sleep in my van till about 6:30 in the morning, then get out, put my decorator's table up, put my cups and saucers, plates, basins and all that on the table, and do a day's there selling the gear. Well, in front of me was Cilla Black's mum, and she would have a great big army blanket on the floor, and she'd have little girls' slides, petticoats, socks, all second hand. And you know what? She'd work there in the rain, in the whether it was fucking snowing. She was great. She was lovely. And if she'd go for a cup of tea, I used to play the banjo in there, and my brother played the guitar, and he'd come in and give a song and all like that, you know, and they. So her parents were lovely, lad. But even when she came to Liverpool to stay, when she made the big time, she wouldn't stay with her mum. She used to put herself up in a fucking 5-star hotel.
Forgot the old arse she sat on. That's what my mum and dad would say. You forgot the old arse she sat on.
That's right. It's weird, but I got my own backs on it, because Brookside asked me to go and do a publicity shot with some of the cast for a new cinema that was opening, and they wanted air on it. And so what it was, we were just standing there, and the local photographer come, and he went, if I can get this photograph done in half an hour, Rick, he said, I can get home. He said, take my wife for a drink. The pubs used to shut at 10 o'clock then. I said, okay. So I got our crowd together, me and Sue and all that. And the other fella that done the Coffee Bean advert, what was his name? Can't remember. A bloke. Oh, what was his name?
Oh, the Gold Blend.
Gareth
Blend guy.
Hunt, not Gareth Hunt, was it?
I can't remember.
Anyway, he was the
I
Coffee
can
Bean.
picture him, but
So
I
can
can't think his
I
name.
think it was Gareth Hunt, I'm not sure, or something like that. Anyway, so she's talking to him around the corner, and the fella's going, Rick, he said, if I don't get this done, he said, I won't be able to get out for the last half hour.
That's what that guy out there
So
saying.
so in the end, I walked round to her and I went, Cilla, do us a favour. She went, get your hand off that frock. It cost me a lot of money. And I thought, you twat. The fella just wanted to take one photograph, publicity for us and Brookside, publicity for her. Anyway, in the end, she come, had it took, and that was it. And I thought, that'll fucking do me. But anyway, I got my own back. So she was in the pantomime in the Empire. And the star of the show was a girl called Jennifer Elliston, who's still around.
Yeah, she was on
She was in
Brookside.
She
Brookside.
was lovely, Jennifer. And she's the lead, she's the star. But in the Empire, they have what they call 2-star dressing rooms, one either side of the stage. Fucking Cilla Black had both of them. So it meant that Jennifer had to go up the stairs to get it to her changes. Anyway, during the fucking run of the play, she fell down the stairs and broke her ankle, so she's doing a bit of fucking big thing on her ankle, you know. The other one wanted the two dressing rooms. Anyway, everyone fucking hated her. But it's the last, I'll never forget it, it's the last night of the panto. And she's got the villain on the floor. And she's got the sword on his throat. She's got the knee-length boots and the fucking pants on and all that and the tricorn hat. She says, well, but chocker, the last day. There's fucking few old drunks in there as well, besides 3,000 screaming kids, you know. And she's got the sword. She said, well, boys and girls, I've got the villain here. What shall I do? And they're all shouting, kill him! Kill him, Cilla! Kill him! She said, no, I can't kill him, because it's Christmas, but I must still punish him. What shall I do? And this old drunk said, well, just fucking sing to him. Well, I fucking told that on the Lorraine Kelly show. Oh, I was fucking made up to get it in.
Well, as you told it on the Crystal Variety Show and on Sin City, so thank you very
My
much.
pleasure,
for coming,
anytime.
Manny. We really
Thanks very much.
appreciate it.
Anytime at all
pleasure.
while we're around, lads, you know.
Magic. It's been a pleasure. But listen, I'll get this edited, I'll get it sent over, and Ace, I can have a look at it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that everything's alright before we
Fucking
put it out.
do your job, fuck it.